Chapter 2053. The vehicle Faria was in quickly drove out of downtown Beijing and continued on toward the mountainous areas in the western suburbs of Beijing. Although China is mountainous, the capital, Beijing, is located in the Kanto Plain, so the entire Beijing area is flat, and there are almost no peaks in the city. One has to go west for dozens of kilometers until Nishitama County before entering the mountainous area. Mountainous areas are mostly winding roads, but the road conditions are very good. Commercial vehicles continued to drive on the winding mountain roads with 9 bends and 18 turns, and the altitude was gradually increasing. Because it was in the mountains and it was late at night, almost no cars were driving along the winding road for dozens of kilometers. Looking down from the sky, only Faria's car with its lights on could be seen circling through the mountain road. She was very happy at this time. Although in the final cooperation plan with Nippon Steel, the Adair family gave up the controlling rights, fortunately, the controlling rights did not fall into the hands of Nippon Steel, which was a relatively acceptable compromise. Since taking over as the head of the Adair family, Faria had been working hard, but it was true that she had not made very outstanding results immediately. Therefore, she personally attached great importance to this cooperation with Nippon Steel. She also looked forward to using this cooperation to prove to everyone that she really had the ability to make the Adair family better and stronger. At this time, the car had already run most of the winding mountain road. Occasionally, when the car drove to the east side of the mountain, one could see the night view of the entire eastern side of Beijing at their feet. Sitting next to Faria, Swallow took out her mobile phone with some excitement. While taking pictures of the scenery outside the window, she exclaimed, "The night view of Beijing from the mountain is really unique." With that said, she tried to take a few photos and said with some regret, "Oh, it's not clear to take pictures on the phone at night, so I can't capture this kind of mood at all." Faria smiled slightly and said, "If you take a photo at night, the light is too weak, so a long exposure time is needed. If you really want to shoot this kind of night scene, you have to find a place with a wide view, use an SLR with a tripod, and use a long exposure. This kind of feeling can be photographed in the same way." Swallow said in surprise, "Mr. Adair, you know photography?" Faria smiled and said, "It was popular to join various interest clubs when I was in college. I have fewer cells for singing and dancing, so I chose photography." Swallow smiled and said, "Then I will learn from you if I have a chance." Faria nodded and said, "If the contract is successfully signed, we will rest in Beijing for a few days and relax. Then I will buy an SLR and a tripod, and we will come here again to take night shots." "It's great," Swallow said cheerfully. "This way, I can stroll around and take a look in Beijing." As they were talking, the vehicle drove into a U-shaped curve on the winding mountain road, and the driver subconsciously slowed down and entered the curve. After a slow and steady turn, a low roar suddenly came from in front of him. The driver subconsciously turned on the high beam, and then he was stunned to find that a fully loaded heavy truck was in the middle of the road, leaping downhill and quickly diving toward him. The opponent's car was very large, and it was going downhill at an extremely fast speed. Once a collision occurred on such mountain roads, the consequences would be disastrous. The driver of the commercial vehicle kept flashing his lights and honking his horn, but the other party remained unmoved. What was even more frightening was that the mountain road itself was very narrow, with only 2 lanes on the left and right, and the other side was driving in the middle of the road, so there was no room for the commercial vehicle to dodge at all. When Faria saw this, several questions flashed in her mind. What's the matter with that truck? Why doesn't it slow down? Before she could understand, the truck banged directly into the front of the commercial car. Since this big truck was going downhill and full of muck, its tonnage and inertia were huge. Faria's commercial car was in front of it, exactly like paper.